Welcome to Fire Engineering's Training Minutes. I'm Mark Gregory along with Pat Nichols. Today we're going to talk about a common accident happens all across the country, and that's the person stuck in a snowblower. Here we have our victim, their arm stuck through the chute, and the hand is wrapped around the auger blade itself. So part of our scene size up, lockout, tag out. How can we make this environment safe? Make sure the machine is turned off. If it hasn't been done already, take the key out. We also want to make sure that the spark plug is removed from the machine. Not just the wire taken off, but the actual plug itself is removed. The reason being is compression. As long as that spark plug is in there, we still have the compression factor that we have to worry about. Once the spark plug has been removed, now we can work on removing our victim. We have several different options that are out there. Pat's got a right angle grinder. This one here happens to be electric. Now remember where your victim is going to be. If the victim is outside, we might not have the luxury of getting near a power source. Battery operated tools are great. 24-volt power source is a great option if we have to cut something. We also have the whizzer saw that we can use. All right? Runs off of air. We have to make sure that we have enough of an air source. The problem that we can run into in a situation like this is whether or not we're going to have the room to actually cut the auger blade itself. Rather than worrying about cutting and taking apart different pieces of machinery, sometimes it's easier if we just use basic homemade tools. Your sockets, right? The gator grip sockets also work very well. They adapt to any size. We don't have to play guessing games on what size socket we're going to need, whether it's metric or whether it's going to be standard. So we can use a gator grip. What we would want to do there, right? We can remove these housing bolts here, which is allow us to get to the auger. From there, we can basically pull the machine out a little bit, and the auger blade should drop down. On our older machines, this one doesn't happen to have it, but there could be shear pins. A lot of the common homeowner machines today have shear pins. We could take the shear pins out, which is going to give us free flow of the auger blade. So we can manipulate the blade, and we can free the victim. Again, very easy solution here to dropping this whole auger blade. We can loosen up our bolt here, loosen up the bolts that hold the housing, and we can actually take this whole housing and drop it down. By dropping this housing down, that's going to allow us to get the access that we need in order to free the victim's hand. Things we should also consider. It's cold, it's wintertime, the victim's out in the environment. We have to think about that aspect. Think about protecting the victim from the elements. We may want to have blankets brought over, some type of heat source brought over, if it's going to be an extended operation. We've had instances before where the actual snowblower was brought to the emergency room. Something you have to think about there. If we're going to bring a machine of this source into an emergency room, how are we going to get it there with the victim? Are we going to be able to fit it into the back of an ambulance? So these are all things that you have to think about before we transport the victim to the local hospital. Thank you for watching Fire Engineering's Training Minutes. I'm Mark Gregory, along with Pat Nichols.